I want to kick it off. Can everybody see my share screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So here's our agenda for today. It's not much different than our previous session 2 months ago. I'll do the introduction here, and Kelly will review some of the rules of engagement here, rules of the road, and then we're going to do a little introduction, about a 1 to 2 minute introduction of each individual, because we have a few new players here. And also our guest speaker, I want him to be familiar with who's in our group. And then the guest speaker will have the run of the show for as long as he wants. And then we'll open a Q&A. And again, I mentioned to Todd that, I think if you have questions along the way, I don't think Todd would oppose you interrupting him. And then shout outs. I want to make sure that if you have a recent, literary achievement, or a published book or a video or appearance, we want to hear about it. Okay, we'll do that a little bit at the end. Then our closing remarks. So any question on the agenda? And then before I introduce our guest speaker, I'm going to just do a round robin of who we are. And if you could just take a minute or two to introduce yourself, and we'll start out with Peter Gravitt.
I'm Peter Gravitt, in Southern California. LAPD retired, U.S. Army retired, published a couple of books. Glad to see everybody. That's it.
Yes, sir. Mr. Leon?
Yes, sir. I'm Leon 2023 here with two of my other Carroll brothers. I haven't been able to figure out how to get 2023 out of there. But anyway, I'm a Marine and did that for 6 years, active duty, 3 years in the reserves, in a unit that Keith Bushy commanded, but not while he was there. And I worked on the NCIS show after 21 years in the agency. And I have 3 published books, and shout out for later, but they've done pretty well.
To say the least. Kelly Galvin?
Hi, I'm Kelly Galvin. I'm a retired captain. I had a secondary career as a healthcare administrator and also in IT. Got a couple of books under my belt. Recently, I completed a screenplay on one of my books, and it's doing pretty well. Out of 4 festivals we entered, we placed in 3 of them. Keep the fingers crossed. Now I just need someone to produce the darn thing. But having fun with it. And that's all I've got for right now. Thank you.
All right, we got Mr. Terry, you had a question? No? Okay.
Negative. I would just giving props to Kelly for his screenwriting recognition.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an
Thanks,
achievement.
Edgar.
Les, you want to introduce yourself, sir?
Hey, I'm Les Carroll. I'm in South Carolina, even though I'm the one that looks like I just crawled out of bed. And I'm a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, Air Force Air National Guard. And I wrote 3 books back in the 90s, but I've written my 3rd book recently is coming out in about a month. I met up with Leon Carroll about 10 or 15 years ago in LA, just because we had almost the same name, and we spent a little bit of time together and have kind of tried to stay in touch. But I was very pleasantly surprised to get his message last night to join this group and join this. So I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. Mr. Terry?
Good morning, everyone. I first name is Edgar. I am actually a classmate of Kelly Gavin's cohort. I'm also in Southern California, Army retired, working on my first book still, and getting all the tips and hints that I can from you guys. So I appreciate joining.
Outstanding. Okay, we're moving along with Bill Mayhew.
Good morning from Southern California. Bill Mayhew, retired Lieutenant Colonel. I served with most of the Army folks here. I've got two books written but not published. So anybody's got an author or a publisher or an agent, let me know. I'm looking to publish. I don't want to do the self-published thing. But happy to be here this morning and welcome to my garage.
Excellent. Tom Carroll.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Tom Carroll, retired Navy captain, and I guess I intel and surface warfare, and I've written 3 books. The 4th book is sitting at the Pentagon, waiting for approval. So I'm really happy to meet all of you, gentlemen.
And Keith.
You're
You're
muted.
muted, sir. Keith, hit unmute on your audio in the lower left.
Good, forgive me. Good morning, everybody. My name is Keith Bushy. I'm a retired Marine Colonel from the Reserves, served with several different law enforcement agencies, and the best was when I worked for Pete Gravitt in the Los Angeles Police Department. I've written 5 books. My most recent was published. Every penny from every book that I write goes to the City of Hope. I make no money whatsoever. I'm also the author of 9 booklets on leadership, and I have about a 250,000 cadre of followers, not followers, but people I reach out every month to on LinkedIn and leadership on LinkedIn, MailChimp, and through a couple of different outfits that for which I'm a columnist, all in leadership. And it's an honor to be here this morning.
Thank you, sir. Michael.
Hello, my name is Michael Smith. I'm a retired Navy chief. I work for the NCIS franchise television show. I'm an advisor. Just stepped in the Leon shoes on the mothership on the main show in Valencia, California. But my home is in Gulfport, Mississippi. I finished my first manuscript November last year, and I didn't get it published yet, so I'm looking for a publisher and an agent. And thank you for letting me join this group so I can learn how to do those things.
Excellent. Richard?
Yeah. Richard, everybody calls me Dick. I'm retired after 37 years with LAPD. Knew Peter and worked with Keith Bushy a couple of times. And I'm brand new, have not written anything that's been published. Written a couple of articles for blogs, and that's about it.
Wonderful. Good to have you. Yes.
I'm sorry. We live in Boise, Idaho. Moved up here 4 years ago.
A wonderful place. Rondo, good to see you.
Good to see you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. Rondo here. I'm the little brother of Mr. Leon Carroll Jr., whose mom told him to take with him to all of the teenage events. So he's been a great mentor and tutor of mine. It was through him that I was able to link up with a publishing agent. I published my first book about a year or so ago now, and served 32 years with the Minneapolis Police Department. Its last 5.5 as chief. And now I'm diving into the AI space, but just honored to be here with all of you gentlemen. And I'm looking forward. I'm a history buff, so I'm looking forward to the conversation today. Thank you.
Great. And Dr. Williams?
Good morning, everyone. Felton Williams, retired Dean of Business and Social Science, retired President of Long Beach Unified School District, grew up in San Pedro and tried to take a few lessons from Peter Gravitt while I was growing up. Some stuck. And I served in the Army, U.S. Army, and was the personal assistant to the brigade commander. And I am in the process of writing my first book. And being part of this program has been a blessing in terms of all the things that I'm learning. Some of it's scary because it's going to put me to work, but that's okay. But it's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent. And Mr. Garcia?
Hey, good morning. It's an honor to be here amongst all of you. Thank you, Mr. John, for allowing me to be here. A little late, but I got in. I served for 38 years in the U.S. Army. I did tribal police, graduated from the Sheriff's Academy, Palm Springs Police Academy, and did some tours over in Iraq.
Excellent. And General Harrell?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, I'm based out of Southern California. I live in Hawaii part of the year. Let's see, 42 years in the service, 10 years in the Marines, 32 in the Guard, retired Major General, 40th Infantry Division Commander like Pete. I'm also retired Deputy Attorney General for the state of California. So I had a lot of busy in two different careers. I've got 4 published books. I write for Pen and Sword out of England. I have 3 books in the works. I'm currently working on a series on the Ukrainian war, which I have 2 volumes published. I'm working on third, and then the 4th volume is in the works also. And that's it, I guess.
Wonderful. And did I miss anybody? Okay. John McBrearty. I'm also like General Harrell, Marine Corps, 10 years, 22 in the Army, retired Lieutenant Colonel. I've self-published 20 books and about 70 YouTube videos that promote the books. And I'm currently negotiating, well, attempting to get a traditional publishing deal on 4 completed manuscripts. That's kind of the long and short of things. And then we have the Army birthday tomorrow, and I got a video coming out on that. I always release a book or a video on historical dates. So I would say we have a true military historian among, well, several of us are military historians, but our guest speaker is a real military historian. And I consider myself a little bit of a history geek, but Todd, I hope I don't kill your name, Todd. DePastino?
Yeah, you'll kill it. DePastino.
DePastino. Let me tell you about Todd. And also, everybody, please put on mute right now. Go to lower left and go to mute, because we're going to turn it over to Todd in a second. I've known Todd for, I would say, upwards of two plus years, and I've been affiliated with his organization, and he's going to tell you all about that. And he's, I will tell you, I've been interviewed hundreds of times in my military and literary careers, and I would honestly say that my best interview was with Todd. And it wasn't until I really looked at his resume to figure out why is this guy so intuitive. This gentleman is like I said, a military history professor. He's got a master's at Boston College and a PhD from Yale in American history. And he's an award-winning author, and he's the Veterans Breakfast Club president and
executive
runs
director.
that show. And that's how I know him. They put out a quarterly magazine. They featured one of my books in there. And I did recently an appearance with one of his West Coast functions. And I'm so happy that he's here and took the time out of his busy schedule, because us collectively as a group are what Todd's organization is about. And this is a relationship I see going forward that is mutually beneficial, because pretty much almost anybody in this group could be a guest speaker on one of his podcasts. I had the honor of doing it about a year and a half ago, and like I said, it was the best interview I ever had. And I look to the future for those opportunities for members of our group, and I can also, in some way help Todd and his organization move forward. So, sir, it's an honor to have you here. And without any further ado, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, John. And thank you for inviting me here. What an impressive and interesting group. I'm the only one here who doesn't have a career in the military or a career in law enforcement. I'm a historian. I spent many years teaching and writing history at Penn State and Waynesburg University. And in 2008, I published a book that had to do with World War II, a biography of somebody some of you might be old enough to remember, Bill Mauldin, the World War II cartoonist. I wrote his biography. I edited his collected works. And it was only really then, in working on Mauldin's bio, that I really just started to understand what military service entails. And one thing that I couldn't figure out, and unfortunately didn't get into the book because I was still too green with understanding veterans, was his complicated relationship with the Army. If you know Bill Malden, you know his cartoons could be cutting, they could be damning, they could be, he was always bitching and moaning about the Army and Army life and the war. And yet at the end of his life, when he was dying, the only people he really wanted to be around and actually even recognized, even not even his family, were his fellow Army vets. It was a part of who he was, you know, his Army identity and his Army service. And I couldn't quite understand what was so special about serving in the Army or serving in the military, serving in war, that it embeds itself so deeply in your identity, in your consciousness. But working with veterans over the past 18 years, I see it every day, every day. And I'll kind of work backwards, I guess, a little bit, because I want to make this point that it took me many, many years to understand that when you join the military and serve in the military, this is not just a job. It's something so much more than that. It's not even just a vocation. It's more than that. When you raise your right hand and you go through basic training or boot camp, you get, and I know some of you will object maybe to using this word, my using this word, but it's a word that I'll use because I think people like me understand it. You get indoctrinated into a subculture, into even a counterculture, into a whole world with its own language, its own ethic, its own standards of behavior, its own hierarchy. And it's very unlike the civilian world. And I think people who haven't had any exposure to armed forces service have difficult time understanding how basic training or boot camp changes you fundamentally for the rest of your life. I've had so many veterans who were drafted, say, in 1968, spent 2 years in the Army, say to me or at our breakfast, hey, I'm 80 years old. I spent 2 years in the Army. It's a tiny percentage of my life, but it's about 75% of who I am. And that's helpful to people like me who haven't served. That's why, especially children of veterans, it helps children and family members to begin to understand the identification and the level of devotion that veterans have to their branch of service and to the memory of their service. It also starts to get us into what makes veterans special. And I think what makes them special is the wisdom, the knowledge, and the perspective that they bring. And so at our events, what we try to do is bring out some of those experiences, some of that wisdom, some of that perspective for the rest of us to learn from and be inspired by. And this all started in 2008. I started going around giving book talks in support of the Bill Malden book. And most of the people I gave talks to were World War II veterans and other veteran groups. And it was then that I started to hear their stories, started to get to know them. And there was one local group here in Pittsburgh, where I'm from, that had gone on a World War II memorial bus tour of Washington, D.C. There were 30 of these World War II vets. And I gave a talk to them, just 30 of them, 32 maybe. And we asked them to, I collected their addresses, and I thought, I don't know, they were such interesting characters. I thought maybe I'll write a book. I didn't know what I was going to do with them, but I got their contact information, invited them to another event. And this is a simple, like, we have some breakfast served. And then instead of me talking, I walked around the room with the microphone and had them kind of share a bit of their own stories. And it was so great. I mean, it was just so amazing to hear these older vets, all World War II, kind of, even veterans with a touch of dementia. They may not know exactly who I am or what I was doing, but man, when I asked them about their ship and their service, they could recall it in vivid detail and recall the emotion of it too. And so we kept on getting them together, and we kept on inviting them to, bring your children, bring your spouses, bring your grandchildren. And about the third one or fourth one of the spouses came up to me and said, thank you for doing this. We've been married 60 years, and I've never heard any of the stories that he told today. And I thought, that's the weirdest thing. How do you go through life with these life-changing, transformative experiences and yet never share them with anybody, even with the people you're closest to, there's something about it. There's something about that wall, that separation between those who have served and those who haven't, that kind of inhibits that kind of sharing. And so I guess the Veterans Breakfast Club really began as a way to stage an event, to stage a program, to create a space where members of the public would feel welcome to come, and veterans would feel welcome to come, but the program would be focused on the veteran service. It would all be about their experiences, any branch of service, any era, any age, whether they liked it or not, whether they were in war or not. It doesn't matter. If you went through the training, you went through the induction, then you are a veteran. And that's how we started in 2008. And we just kind of grew organically, locally. We were a seat of the pants, all volunteer outfit. We finally got articles of incorporation, and we got a 501c3 designation. We started to do some grant funding. And from that, we started to publish a quarterly magazine, because after all, I am a writer. I would take the stories that we hear at our breakfast and kind of collect them every quarter and publish them in a magazine. And then when the pandemic hit, we moved all our programming online, and we started doing virtual programs almost every day of the week. And we've continued with that. So now we're back, of course, to in-person programs, and we do virtual events 2 days a week, every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. We get into a Zoom room just like this, and we live stream it to YouTube and Facebook. And we have conversations that are usually themed around particular groups of veterans or eras or kinds of stories. And then we also have about monthly open conversation where we just get together and, somebody poses a question or shares a story, makes an observation, and, it's off to the races for 90 minutes. We do about 40 in-person events a year. Most of them are here in Western Pennsylvania, although we also do events in New Jersey and Philadelphia, which is on the eastern end of the state. We do a few in Ohio. And this year, for the first time, and that's where I met Colonel Mack, we had an event that we called Story Fest. It was a 3-day event in Santa Monica, California. And we'll be doing that again next February, and hopefully in other cities around the country. So right now we're at a place where, we do these in-person events. We do the virtual events. We publish a quarterly magazine. We do travel. So we've done many years. We've done travel to near and far, to Washington, D.C., to the World War II Museum in New Orleans. We've gone to the USS Constitution in Boston. We've done 2 trips to Normandy. We're going to Italy, doing a World War II tour of Italy in October. So we've gone to Vietnam 3 times with Vietnam veterans. I've taught many years, of course, on the history of Vietnam. And so that's a special place for me, especially to visit with veterans. And then we do veteran history interviews. So any veteran who wants to be interviewed can be interviewed on Zoom, in person. And we have hundreds and hundreds of those collected that we're really now, most of them are available on YouTube or on Vimeo. But we're really now kind of starting to catalog them and to make arrangements for some kind of permanent home for this wonderful archive that we've collected. Finally, and this won't be relevant to many of you, but it is to our organization. I'm up here in my attic, and this is where we've operated from for the past 18 years. And just on Thursday, we had a ribbon cutting of our first real, brick and mortar home here in Pittsburgh. And so we have a veteran center. It's a VBC Welcome Center where any veteran can come in and have their story recorded and shared, or just have a cup of coffee and get connected to services and resources and each other. So that's what the Veterans Breakfast Club does, and that's my history. What brought me to the Veterans Breakfast Club. And I've got to say, it's a little unusual because I'm not a vet, and I drive around with a big Veterans Breakfast Club sticker on my car. And people will every once in a while park, at Home Depot, and somebody will come up to me and say, "Thank you for your service." And I have to say, "No, don't thank me for nothing." I work with veterans, and then And then I'll usually ask them, are you a vet? Where did you serve? When did you serve? So I think if there is a special thing about the Veterans Breakfast Club, it's that it really is all about kind of getting veterans to share their experiences with non-veterans in a way that we non-veterans can appreciate and understand and learn from. So our slogan kind of is that we create communities of listening around veterans and their stories to connect and heal and educate and inspire. And I think the education and inspiration go to the non-veterans. And in many cases, the connecting and the healing go to the veterans. So that's what the VBC is all about. And I would love to say that we would love to have each and every one of you join us anytime you'd like on our live streams or in person or however you'd like to join us. Would love to hear your story. So thank you, John.
Yeah, the mission of I put in the chat box a link to a video. When we did the Story Fest, I'm always doing my YouTube video stuff, wherever I do something. So I posted a YouTube video of my experience in Santa Monica. So they give you an idea of what they do. And I mentioned the kind of the mission statement for the Veterans Breakfast Club, which is to preserve history through storytelling. And I can't tell you, it was such a humbling, wonderful experience for me. And again, I've never been interviewed so well from anyone. And Todd's interviewed me a few times, and it's always been on Zoom or on camera. But he's very intuitive, and I'm glad I have documented that for my preservation, for my legacy, for my family and stuff. So, anybody have some questions for Todd?
Yeah, please do. Questions or comments? Addis, is that how I say your name? Oh, I'm sorry, Rondo. How do I pronounce your name, Addis? Adais?
Everybody just calls me Tony, Todd, but my real name's Adais Antonio Garcia Jr. Yes,
Okay, Adais or Tony.
Native.
Thank you. Excuse me, what is it?
Native Cherokee.
Native Cherokee name. Adais is.
Yes. It's
Oh, wow.
through my grandma. My grandma was French. She was a slave in the 1800s. My grandpa comes from England.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Texas. That's where they ended up, from Alabama to Texas. Because my grandfather couldn't marry her because she was a slave. And so he had to purchase her freedom off of his dad.
Wow, is that a story?
Yeah, so the last name would have not been Garcia, it would have been Rutledge.
Okay. All right. And you're an Army vet.
I am, sir.
38 years?
38 years.
That's a hell of a long time to be in the Army.
I served with some of these, when some of these generals were actually lieutenant colonels back in the day, like General Harrow and General Gravitt. I was in the 40th Division back in the day.
How interesting.
I entered when I was only 17, so most of my mentors were Vietnam vets and Korean vets.
So and I'm sorry, Rondo, I know that I do want to go to you, but I just want to ask Adais, you went into the Army at 17, so you experienced this transformation that I mentioned firsthand.
Yes, yes, I came from the gang life to the military life. So I didn't know the lingo, I didn't know how to act, but was mentored by a lot of DIs that came straight out of Nam because they had the slanted pockets, the OD greens, so back then they could hit you.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
So a lot. I went through a lot of that. I just didn't know the platform, and it was a whole new platform for me. So it was a whole new rebirth of myself, of how to act. I was just, my past life was really, toxic. I was just growing up around guys from prison, so. The way I entered was a little different. I shot somebody, so I was given a second chance to give myself a new life.
You're one of those.
Yes.
I didn't know they were still doing that in your day and age. I heard tons of older veterans, World War II, Korean era, even Vietnam, tons of them who come to our events would say, kind of sheepishly, sometimes it took them a couple years to get around to saying this, but well, the way I ended up in the Marine Corps or the Army was, a judge gave me an option. Do you want prison or do you want to, Marine Corps? And so they were still doing that in your age. So, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like if not for the Army, you'd be dead by now.
I'll probably be dead.
Now, can I ask you this? It's one thing to be transformed by the Army and kind of, shaped by it. But then you have to leave the Army. You have to retire and become a civilian again. How hard was that?
I remember I got injured when I was in Iraq. I remember there was a captain. I had just done a tour on 2010. So I came back and it was 2010 to 2011. So I came 2010 to 2011. So I came back and I remember being in the Wounded Warriors Project and in Seattle. And I remember the captain saying, "You're done. You're going to retire out. And that's it, And so I sat there and I literally cried because I didn't know what else to do. And that was my whole life.
That's your whole life.
That was my whole life.
You're homeless.
Yeah.
Familyless.
Yeah. I had just found a whole new platform of how to be somebody and do something in my life. And then just take that away. And so.
That's amazing, Tony. Hey, we got Rondo and Felton wanted to chime in.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Adeus, for sharing that. Rondo.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I just want to say too, not only is this been so important bringing us together, obviously a focus on writing, but even just this last couple of minutes, Mr. Garcia, hearing your story, these have been inspirational conversations. So there's a lot that comes from this. Mr. DePastino, wonderful stories you talked about how these breakfasts, and one thing that is reaffirming universally is that food tends to bring us together. And so that is so important. I was just going to ask you, is there any trend lines between the conversations you have had with veterans of World War II and how you even mentioned the powerful story of a wife being with her husband for 60 years and she for the first time are hearing these stories? Any trend lines between what's changed or maybe what still stays the same between World War II veterans and perhaps Vietnam veterans, or perhaps those who've been in theater that Mr. Garcia has been in, Iraq and others? I'm just curious, are things the same? Are they changing? Just curious. Thank you.
Love it. Okay, some things are universal and have not changed. And in fact, as a historian, I did something a little unusual for our last magazine. I'm going to hold it up here. I decided for America 250 that we should do a whole issue devoted to veterans of the American Revolution. And the inspiration for that, and I know this is not quite answering your question, the inspiration for that was I was doing some reading of memoirs of American Revolutionary War veterans, Navy and Army, and then some civilian camp followers. And what I found as I was reading them was like, oh my gosh, these people should be at our breakfast. The stories that they tell are so similar to the stories that we hear at our breakfast. Why did you join the Continental Army? Well, my dad beat the hell out of me, so I decided to run away from home at age 17, and a recruiter caught me. They share stories of getting shot at for the first time, of seeing wounded for the first time, of getting captured, and then coming home, like the war being over and how bittersweet that was. And so we decided to go with a whole issue just with excerpts from the American Revolution. And the idea was, and for women and slaves and all kinds of people. And the whole idea was I encourage our veterans to read these stories and see themselves in them. That when you join the military, I think it dawned on me, when you join the military, you come in to this heritage that is centuries old, and you spend just a little bit of time in there and kind of carry it forward. And then other people come after you, and a lot of people have come before you. But that kind of, there's a coherent kind of tradition and heritage there that you're a part of. And so that means that kind of whenever you have served, whether it be World War II or recently, you share a heck of a lot. The differences are fascinating too. And the major difference, of course, between the Vietnam and earlier generations and the later generations is the draft. And that means everything. That means so much. Those who have served since, let's say, 1975 have a different relationship with their service than those who served before then. They tend to own their experience more than the draft generation do. They tend to, maybe I should put it this way, that if we have a Vietnam veteran who had a bad experience in the Army, they'll complain about it. Somebody who's younger, who volunteered, say, in 2002 and had a bad experience, they're not complainers. They're not going to complain about it too much because they knew what they signed up for. And that's a big difference. So we kind of have to coax the younger veterans to be a little bit more candid about what they experienced, I would say. But there's a lot of differences, but that's a major one.
Felton's been had the hand up.
Dr. Williams.
Yes, Todd, great presentation, excellent presentation. And congrats on the acquisition of the new home, new space. My question was going to be about the things that you're learning as veterans share their experiences, but you just responded to that. So for the most part, but at the front part of this, when we talk about the person who was married for a long, long time and did not share with his spouse what he had gone through during his time in the military, what do you think was the reason for that? The fact that he held back discussing his experience with his spouse.
Yeah. There are several reasons I have found that veterans don't share their experiences with their family members. Sometimes they're interrelated, sometimes not. Vietnam veterans, as you know, there was a shame attached to having served in Vietnam. That's the distinctive experience of the Vietnam veterans, is they had a horrible homecoming that traumatized them more than the war. And I think that, they were so trained kind of not to talk about Vietnam, not to wear their uniform when they came home, that they ended up trying to just put it in a closet, shut the door, maybe lock it, and, weren't going to share it. There's sometimes with other eras and other, that veterans don't share their stories because they're traumatic. I have two daughters, and I don't want to share terrible things that have happened to me or bad memories. I mean, I don't want to burden them with things that I carry around. So there's that natural, I think, protective instinct. But there is also this thing that I think is much more universal. That is just, it's so clear that non-veterans won't get it. They just won't get it. They won't, how in the world can you serve in the military for, 6 years, go to Iraq and Afghanistan, have different heavy responsibilities at age 19 or 20, get transformed. How do you even begin to talk about that kind of transformation to your family member? It's better, or it's easier just to kind of try to be a civilian again. And I think that's what most people do. Kelly.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that, excuse me, Todd in the chat box sent a direct message to everybody about how to join the Veterans Breakfast Club. So if you don't have your chat box up to see it, you can just click on the chat button down in the toolbar, and it should show basically his email address. That's all I had. I just wanted to point that out.
As a follow-up, gentlemen, I can send out his contact information. Also, to touch on the what Todd had mentioned at the Story Fest. I tell you, the Story Fest in Santa Monica, it was a major event for me. And if you, in the chat box, I'll put the link to my video. It gives you a good idea of what the Veteran Breakfast Club does and a taste of what I did. But what I put in the video, the camera, it was a neuroscience scientist that was doing the camera work.
Yeah.
He asked me, he goes, what was your most memorable, story that you heard here? And the first story, how Todd opened the 3-day event. He opened up, it was breakfast, and this is all calculated. He has a plan of attack on each event, and it made total sense. And I talk a little bit about that in the video because he has a whole thing about children and in the military, and you're in Afghanistan or Iraq. It was just, you have to see it. It's unbelievable. So the most memorable story was the first one he opened the forum with. It was this World War II veteran fighter pilot that was shot down. He got captured. He escaped capture, ended up fighting with the Russians. And like I said, you can't make this stuff up. And that's how the event started, man. I mean, there was another author there who was a Vietnam immigrant who put her story pen to paper, ended up having a Academy Award winning director make a film out of her life. And those were the kind of people that Todd had lined up, some A-list authors. And, it was an honor to be there and be involved. Thank you.
I want to say that do not email the email I put into the chat because I got my own email address wrong. So I'm going to put it in there again. I misspelled breakfast. There we go. Okay. So that's spelled correctly now.
Well, we have, this is, I really want to thank everybody for calling in today. This is the size of group I wish we had every month when we do this. And I want to thank you very much. Does anybody have any other further questions for Todd? General
Todd, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say, Todd, thank you for the work that you do, and for those of us who have not had the honor and privilege of serving. You feel like you're sort of the non-veteran whisperer for all of us civilians. And so I think you mentioned the parking lot situation you went through. And I just think that the more that us non-civilians can have someone to sort of interpret for us, that's so important. So thank you for holding that space. So thank you.
Thank you, Rondo. Very nice of you.
Yeah, Todd, it's Mr. Garcia. I just want to say thanks too, because the way you're doing it, you're connecting, but you're painting those pictures for everybody to view. It's like a masterpiece, like Mona Lisa got painted. You're doing it the way you're doing it with veterans, but you're connecting all those bridges for everyone to see.
Thank you.
Leon?
Yeah, yes, I just wanted to comment on what you just talked about with the families. In our second book, Goes to Panama, we actually focused on the wife, and what was revealed there were a lot of things that were happening with her husband, our protagonist, that she had no idea about. One of the interesting things was at Thanksgiving dinner, he had invited a bunch of people over to share Thanksgiving with him just before the invasion, and she had no idea that all of them were intelligence officers. So that came out in the book, and so including the relatives is a big deal.
Yeah, and military families. That's another thing that we've learned is when one member of a family joins the military, everybody else enters the military community, whether they like it or not. And they're transformed by it. So we're always interested in stories. But speaking of stories, you're all writers. I mean, that's what you're here for. I would invite you to submit, if you want, something for a magazine. This is VBC Magazine. We mail it out to 12,000 households, and then we print up another 8,000 for hand distribution. We also put the PDF of it on our website. We're trying to elevate the internet version of our magazine. It's very slim. It comes out a quarter, but we select stories to share. Please do email me if you'd like to share, something of your writing. Would love to consider it. We also have a very active blog that's kind of connected to the magazine. We'd love to help you get the word out about your story, whether it's in book form or not, however you'd like. That's a big part of what we do, is kind of promote veteran stories, get people to read veteran stories. So please do email me. I'd be very interested, especially to have you guys as guests on our program sometime.
Yeah.
All right, Adeus, you better contact me, Adeus. I'll find you.
Guidelines? You have some guidelines.
That's really like was my hope and intent to get these communities together. And this magazine, if it's a free magazine too, by the way.
Yes, free. Yeah.
And if you get this current one, make sure you go to page 17. There's some interesting individual on that page.
That's right.
Do you have any particular guidelines on the
that magazine,
stories?
They featured one of my books in that magazine, and it was wonderfully done. It was like 4-page spread. They have an excellent professional editor, and it goes out to tens of thousands of people. So I mean, getting exposure for your literary work, it's another avenue of approach.
Guidelines are a good question. We actually don't have formal guidelines. We'll look at anything. That sounds strange, but I mean, we'll publish a 350 word little thought piece. We'll publish a 3,500 word long essay. It just all depends on the mix that we're looking for our particular issue. And but we have a great editor, Daria Summers, who will work with you to get it into the format that we require.
Okay, I was just thinking, like maybe an excerpt from your book, or humor in uniform. Reader's Digest used to do the humor in uniform.
Yes.
Little anecdotes from service. Okay.
Those are always great. Always great. Yeah. Keith.
Hi, just an offer. One of the things I do, no one's ever accused me of being normal. I surround myself with veterans because I have a veterans museum at my house, and I have about 60 mannequins, all in accurate uniforms, representing everything from the Spanish-American War up to present, gathered around a conference table. Sometimes I go in there and just shout orders and give directions and make speeches. But I'd like to offer that to you and anybody else if you'd like to use that as a studio for any of your activities.
Where are you located, Keith?
Azusa, California.
Azusa?
Azusa.
Okay.
Also, every Tuesday morning, as Peter Gravitt knows, I run a breakfast group in Glendora where we have 70 or 80 veterans just take up the whole sidewalk and half the streets every Tuesday morning. And what you said is so profound. Even though it's only 2 years of somebody's life, it makes up 70% of who they are. Well said. And thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Keith.
I might just join you on that one, sir. Keith. I'm living out here in by Palm Springs area.
We'd love to have you.
So cool.
Sometimes Peter even drives up from Palos Verdes.
Yeah, Keith, on the future webinar, you're going to have to brief us up on your get-togethers.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. Love to have you. Yeah, it's at a restaurant in Glendora. Every Tuesday morning, and everybody from every group you can imagine is there. And quite frankly, we have a number of people there that are carrying some pretty heavy baggage, and they need the camaraderie that type of forum provides for them.
You bet.
That's wonderful. Yeah, there's some good golf courses over in that neighborhood.
Felton.
Yeah, very quickly, and if this is not too personal, can you tell us how your organization is supported financially?
Yeah, no, it's not too personal. We survive on donations, on sponsorships. So our breakfasts are free, are always free. And we always have sponsors for the breakfast. So a funeral home will sponsor it, or a healthcare, outfit will sponsor it. Our magazine has ads in it. And then finally, donations. We make some money also on travel. That's one of the reasons we do it. It's a good revenue stream. But we get some grants from foundations. And that's how, for example, we were able to open up our BBC Welcome Center in Pittsburgh through a major grant from a local foundation.
Thank you,
Hey,
Todd.
Todd, they might not know, but some of your trips that you've taken are all inspiring, like Normandy beaches, Vietnam. Can you
Yeah.
tell them a little bit about some of those trips?
Yeah, the trips are really terrific. I think I mentioned we did 3 trips, for example, to Vietnam with veterans. First was in 2018, the second was in 2020, and the third was in 2023. We'll be going again in 2027. And we usually take about a group of 20, 25 veterans and their families, and we go from Hanoi all the way down to the Mekong Delta. And we want to kind of explore the country, but also visit, if we can, some of the places where our veterans served. And it's an incredibly healing adventure, not just to go to the places, but to meet the Vietnamese people and to get to know them. And to have like an NVA soldier come up to us and say, "Hey, did you serve in Vietnam? You know, I served too." And it's absolutely magical. In October, we're doing because Bill Malden served and became famous when he was in Italy. We're doing a World War II tour of Sicily and southern Italy. So that's a 2-week, from Catania, Sicily, and we'll fly out of Rome. But then we do, smaller trips to local places. So, yeah, we're always thinking of new places to travel. We're doing a World War II conference, our first conference in Tampa, Florida, in December. You can go to our website. Our website is veteransbreakfastclub.org. If you just want to check out some of the stuff that we do, veteransbreakfastclub.org, you'll be able to see some of our past programs that we've had and our upcoming schedule.
It's excellent. So, any closing comments from the group collectively? I think, speaking for the group, Todd, we're grateful to have you with us and really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Again, tomorrow's our Army's birthday.
Happy
I got
birthday.
a video coming out. It's called Writing Tips. And most of you are way beyond these writing tips, but it's for people getting started writing. And it's a video I did for one of the, speaking engagements I did. But Rondo, you got a closing comment?
That was just an applause for what you got coming out in tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you. And Todd, do you have anything to conclude?
Yeah, I just want to invite you all, go to veteransbreakfastclub.org. You can send me an email. I'd love to be able to stay in touch with you and keep you updated on our schedule and again, invite you to submit anything you'd like to our magazine, and certainly would love to have you hear your story on one of our
Well,
events.
thank you again, Todd, very much. And anybody have any questions for me? Before we
Keith, Keith, how do I get a hold of you?
Ready to copy?
I'm
well,
ready, sir.
if it's okay with the group, I can email my list of contact information for everybody if you like.
Yeah, it's
Thank you,
okay
sir.
with me.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you again, Todd. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
guys.
And then before
Sorry.
I forget, just anybody with shout outs, any awards, any book releases recently since our last meeting? Anybody?
I'd like to promote a little bit
Thank you.
my brother's book, Les. This is an awesome book. His experience in bringing back our fallen from different eras is awesome. I highly recommend it. And my shout out yesterday was I got a letter from HarperCollins, my publisher, and we've done 3 books, and yes, we've hit the bestseller list 2 out of the 3, but I've never gotten a letter from the CEO of HarperCollins. I didn't know who the guy was. I'm like, why is this Brian Murray writing me, congratulating me on a book that we just put out April 14th, Ghost of Sicily, which maybe I should go on that Sicily trip. But I thought, wow, why did we just get that? And I wanted to check to see if it was a wet signature, and it's not. It's auto pen. So, but anyway, it's great to get a letter like that.
Right on. That's great. Any other shout outs?
I just wanted to make one comment if I could, or thank y'all for allowing me to be part of the group. And Leon's got my email address, and so I'd like to be part of this group going forward.
Wonderful.
And I know
John,
that General Gravit and I have the same publisher. I don't know if any of others of y'all publish with Kohler Books, but General Gravit and I have the same publisher, and he actually has an endorsement comment in my next book.
Felton's got a question.
yeah,
Yeah,
John,
that's
very
something I like to reiterate.
John,
One of the purposes of this group and some of my other groups is to support one another, which includes, go on Amazon, buy an ebook. Ebooks $4 or $5. Do a review for one another, and that's what we're all about here.
John, I do have a quick comment.
Yes.
At the last session, when I got a good overview of the work that I'm going to need to do regarding the book, and I really appreciate it, but it led me to ask a lot of questions, and I was able to link up with an old friend who's involved in putting together marketing platforms. And just recently, she shared with me the work of a platform using TapTag and some other things to promote an upcoming book. It was pretty fascinating in terms of what that process is all about. There will be if you go to feltonwilliams.com, you will begin to see the foundation of her work that involves anyone I may speak to. I can capture their information and I could link them into my website, and they can go on my website and see my background. They can request that I do a book tour. They can request to buy a book. They can request a number of things on this website. And if this group agrees, I'd like to invite her to come in and do a demonstration at one of our meetings, John, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's talk offline about that, okay, Felton?
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to thank Peter for inviting me to join the group, and this has been very interesting and informative, and I really appreciate it. Hope to see you guys again next time.
Well, thanks for joining us, Richard.
I want to thank.
I got a question for Leon. What's the deal with Carol? How many Carols we got on this call?
Yeah,
Seriously.
It's a great pen name.
What's going on there?
It's a great pen name, right?
We're all related.
Plus, you got Rocky Carroll, who's one of the stars of the show.
Yeah, my great uncle, Rocky.
I used to think it was a really uncommon name. It was an unusual name, but I realize it's not. It's quite common.
Well,
was Rocky Carroll's name a nod to you, Leon?
The Leon
character
part
name?
was, yes. The Carol part was coincidental. We're not related, but and neither one of us are originally Carols, by the way. I just found out going back to 1823, found my 3 times great grandmother, and the way it's spelled was Curiels, pronounced Carell. And that's what I grew up knowing. And my dad, speaking of the military, when he went in, he got drafted. They changed the spelling of his name according to him, and that's how I became a Carroll, Carroll.
Another fascinating veteran story.
Yep.
Hey, Leon, does that book, is it called Troubled Grounds?
Yes, it is, and it's
Okay.
Les Carroll, and it's an awesome read. It's short, but Les has done a great job with it. Be prepared to have your handkerchief next to while you're reading because it's very emotional.
And don't forget to do a review for him.
Well,
All right. Well, sir,
Yeah, I just want
Todd,
to say thank you to Leanne.
I'd like to wrap things
If I
up.
can, this
Yes,
is
sir,
serious.
John. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would like to have Rondo sometime in the future give a presentation about his experiences as the chief of police of Minneapolis during the George Floyd incident.
Wow.
And Rondo, you would offer, and you wrote about that in your book Chief, which is a bestseller. And I see you on CNN and other TV shows with your book. But yeah, I'd like to have Rondo give a presentation to the law enforcement people in the group. We're not all veterans. We have a lot of law enforcement. We don't want to leave them out.
Sir, I'd be honored, sir.
That's a great idea. So for the group, when you have an idea like that, send me an email and I'll come up with, I'll put it in a schedule for the next year. Because I kind of see the group possibly moving to a monthly meeting. Most of my other groups, that's what we do. And I think it'll bring us tighter together. But I mean, that is a whole story there. And then Keith, I mean, I'm finding out stuff about you I didn't even know, and I want to know more. And then we have a lot of the military guys here have over 3 decades, some 4 decades of experience. So I like to rotate and have each individual get one of their presentations and tell us your story. Great idea. General Harold, did you have something, sir?
No, I did not. I'm
Okay.
good. It was a great presentation.
Okay, Todd, any closing comments, sir?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for us. Again, thank you very much for everybody knows how to get a hold of me. You want to do an AER, send it my way. Tune in the video, Army Birthday, YouTube, put my name in. And God bless you all. Thank you.
All right. See you guys. Take care.